Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, VXM. Today we're going to be doing a gear change on an 8.8 2001 Mustang. Alright, so gear change. This is Tom's car. You remember Tom from the Fairlane? Tom, you still working on that Fairlane?
Oh yeah.
He's going to give us send us some pictures maybe soon.
I just put the 35 spline center section in that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he's got the rear pretty much ready. You're rolling it now?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to do a gear change on this car. This is his. He bought this when he was what?
19.
19 years old. So he's owned this, original owner, 20... what?
20 years and, hold on.
20 years and how many days?
20 years and 11 days.
Now, how many miles are on it?
23,000.
23,000.
Yeah.
Beautiful car. All right, so we're going to do a gear change today.
That's at my house. Nah, they must be. Oh, you know what? They're hanging on in my garage. But I got the original plates in this car. And then I had plates that said "Run Slow GT." I still have those too. But like I've said, car's got way too much sentimental.
All right, so first things first. I mean, hopefully you know how to do this. If not, you shouldn't be doing gears anyway. Take the brakes off. You got two brackets, all right? So you got the brake calipers on here. You take the brake caliper off, take the pads off, take the bracket off. All right, so the bracket comes off. Now you expose the axles. Next thing is we're going to take the cover off. I'll show you that. Undo the clips on the inside. If it doesn't have C-clip eliminators, which this doesn't, then you remove the axles will slide right out. All right, so bunch of different people make these covers.
Well, there's a reason for this one. If you got a Maximum Motorsport rear panhard bar, this is the only cover that clears it.
Right, because of this, right?
It's got a bar that goes across from
Okay, so
here.
he's got a couple of the different things going on in here. But as a rule of thumb, if you're going to run an 8.8 and you're going to race it, make sure you get a cover. Okay, these, I'll show you what this is when we take the cover off. But basically, there's two bushings that you can adjust. These are loose because he had half of this apart. But what you do is on the caps that are in here, and I'll show you when we take it off, these actually push against the cap and hold the cap so the ring gear doesn't get spit out the back. Because that's basically the only weak link on these. But like we were just talking about, these rears are unbelievable. They're strong as you can. I mean, a lot of people go with a 9-inch Ford. Obviously, you know, it's easier to work with the 9-inch Ford. You can weld everything to it. The only drawback on these is this can slip, but I know guys weld these up a lot. These are welded, right? And then they pin them in the middle. But for the most part, these things are like indestructible. Okay, there's guys going mid and low fours with these in them. All right, let me take the cover off real quick. All right, so this is the inside of the cover. So see these two little pads, right? So they adjust from the outside and they push on the two caps. And it basically holds them in place. Or tries to hold them in place. So the reason we're doing gears is, well, he's changing the gear ratio.
Yeah, it's 430s.
These are 430s. We're going to a 410. And then this is a picture of when he took it apart. I don't know if you can see that. Look at that.
Yeah.
So you got
every single bolt was loose.
All the bolts were loose, and then you got the one right now. It actually fell out and got jammed in there.
And there's where that bolt was.
Nice. See it in the picture right there.
thankfully, it didn't lock into the gear. It just
Yeah.
chewed through the carrier right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it got stuck.
All right, so next step is I got the drive shaft out, right? We're looking for the pin, which is already out. Where's the pin? No, it's not out. All right, so you got this little 5/16 bolt. That comes out, that goes through the main pin, and then the pin slides out. And then there's two little C-clips inside here. You push the axle in to expose the clip falls out, and then the axle could come out. All right, so I loosen the bolt up, 5/16. This bolt slides out. And then this pin slides out. Right, like that. Yeah, that thing got jammed in there.
You want me to pull on the axle?
Nope, I gotta get them. All right, I gotta use two hands. All right, so this is something that you shouldn't come across, but what happened is, I think the shot it took from the bolt getting jammed in there either bent, something's out of whack, because the pin should slide, like you should be able to just, that pin will slide right out. And it's actually hitting the gear, so something got jammed in there and might have bent it. Who knows what's going on with the carrier. So now we're gonna have to get this out. We don't want to ruin the gears because the gears are still good. So we're probably gonna end up cutting the pin out, because the carrier is no good, but the gears are good. So I'm gonna try to save the gears. But this is one step that you probably won't have to do, obviously. All right, unless you destroy something. So we're gonna get this apart, and then we'll go into the next step of changing the gears. All right, so we got the pin out, and then what we did was we ground down a little bit of that end, and then it had a slot. So we slid it down a little bit, ground down a little bit more here, spun it around, ground down a little bit more here until it came out. So it's not bent. So obviously there's something wrong with the carrier. All right, so now back to this goes. So we go down here like this. So these are the inside there. You could see the axle. He's going to push in on that one axle on that side. All right, and you're going to see like that. And there's the clip. And there's the clip. Where'd it go? Yeah, it's in there. Okay. So now push the other side. That one you could, yeah, you could take that axle out. So now the axle will slide completely out. Okay. Same thing with the other side. Push the axle in. Alright. A little clip comes out right there. Like
someone
that.
wants to sell you some
Yeah, I know.
extended car warranty. Maybe I get a warranty on this.
Yeah.
You want me to answer?
Yeah. Alright, so you pull that out and then the other axle will come out. Alright, so you loosen the 4 bolts up for the caps. Make sure you know where the caps go. They're directional, whatever you want to call it, but they got to go back to the same place. So they got little arrows. Passenger side, this one with the paint on it. Driver side, arrows pointing out. You take the bolts out, take the cap off. You got to be careful. There's shims in here. Okay, so you got that off. That off. All right, and then this carrier drops out. I'm going to use 2 hands because it might hit this bar here. So we're going to see how it goes. Here, hold that. All right, so you got shims on both sides. That's how you determine your lash. All right, so you got shim like that. You want to keep them in order. They come out. Bearings, this one's got, I want more shims. Bearing cap off of here, and we're good to go.
Look at that.
Just like that, okay? take care of that. Make sure the gear set's good, which it still looks good. And in here still looks good.
Probably just a couple of chunks of metal.
This is why you put a magnetic drain plug in it.
Man.
For that. So this has got to get cleaned up real good. We're going to take the gear off. Surprised no grinding or nothing. But, all right. All right. So, got a nut. Like that. Take the nut off. Take the yoke off. And then the gear comes out. So now you got the gear out. Like I said, the gears look good. So we're going to clean all this up. And knock the two races out.
Too bad you don't have
and replace them. Alright, so you got the races got to come out. Like that. The other one from this side.
Yeah.
And the reason we're replacing all the bearings are because we had that metal in there. If you're doing a gear change, a lot of times, probably 9 out of 10 times, you could reuse all the bearings that are already in there. You don't have to take the bearings off the carrier or nothing like that. You're basically just taking the gear set apart and putting the gears back in. But being that this had all this metal flopping around in it, we're not going to take no chances with that. So we're going to take the plug out. We're going to clean the whole housing up with brake cleaner, inside, outside. Run a couple of rags through it, clean everything up real good. Get all the crap out of it, and then we'll restart the assembly. All right, so we banged the front one in, right? Putting the other one in here. You'll know when it's in, because it'll bottom out. Both the races replaced, and now we got to press the bearing on the pinion. Okay. All right, so it's going to need these shims under this bearing. So we want to make sure. So what I do is I'll chuck this up on the lathe like that. Right. And get some emery paper. Polish that down a little bit. And then the bearing will be able to slide on and off without getting pressed. And that'll make it easier for us to take the bearing on and off to check the shim and make sure we got the right shims once we set it up with the dial indicator. Alright, so that's what we're doing now. Alright, so he's getting a whole new setup. Basically, he's putting all new stuff in it because the other one, we don't know what happened to that, but that thing got hit hard. So you want to put Loctite on all the bolts. That's probably what happened with that. That they didn't put Loctite on the bolts, they backed off. You don't have to put a lot, but you gotta put some on it. Put Loctite on all the bolts. And then I'm gonna show you what we did to put the pinion in. So after we basically polished the pinion surface, that bearing slides right on. We're able to put the shims in it. Same amount of shims that were on the old one. Put a new crush collar on it. And I'm going to show you how I crushed the collar. And then putting this gear together here. You want to go a little bit on the side. Make sure it sits flat. You don't want to cock it to one side. That. Now we got to take this pin out. Actually, first we're going to put these bearings on here. So these new bearings are going to go on here. There's no shims on the bottom of these, but there are shims on the outside. So the outside ones are the ones that are going to make it go left or right. Okay? Let me get something to bang that on. Old one. I got an old one. Go get a socket for this.
All right.
Okay. Make sure they're seated good. This is a Ford unit?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 31 spline carbon fiber one. Traction lock.
So, show you what we do here first. We already did this, but you need a tool to hold. Come in here. So basically, you need a tool to hold this, right? And you put the socket on and you can torque it this way. And you crush it. There's no set torque, but you need to crush it enough where you have some, like, 2-finger drag. Okay, like that. So now there's no play in it this way. And the shims that are in there are the depth that it takes to go from the back to inside. So we knew that the gears were already wearing good. So we put the same shims in behind the bearing here, and that gives you this depth this way. The other shims give you this. So what we're gonna do is you put some paint on here. They give you that paint stuff that you can marker. You put the marker on it, you run the gear a little bit, and you look at it and you see what the pattern looks like. So one of these and one of these. This is gonna go like this. And then this and here. You can get this up in here first. Okay, so now you have play from side to side. So that's what you got to take up with the gear, with the bearings. So this bearing's gonna go like that. Hold that one. Just hold your hand there. This is going here. All right. So, as Tom just said, in the world that you can't make this shit up, all right? So this is the new gear. We had a hard time getting it in, right? So I take it apart, I put it on the bench, I'm measuring, I'm thinking, oh, maybe the carrier is different or something. Tom looks at it and goes, are they pointing the wrong way? So check the gears out. Yeah. So this gear set is a reverse rotation. Go figure. Of all the ones we had to get, that's the one we get.
Good old wrong parts.
Wrong parts. All right. So we're changing that carrier.
Show them the carrier.
Now you can see where that got destroyed.
Yeah. This is bent in the whole chunk.
Yeah. So we put the old gears back in. Good thing we didn't ruin them, because in the beginning, remember I said I don't want to ruin them because they're a good set. The only thing is, he really wanted to put 410s in it, but now we're back to 430s.
Well, I want to drive the car too. So.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you can't get no parts. That's the whole thing. Can't even get gears. All right. So putting them back in. I just set them back up. Recrushed the new collar for the front. New seal. New bearings. All new bearings anyway. Everything's all good. We got the correct backlash on everything. And we're going to put it back together. Alright. Well, ended up being a carrier change instead of a gear change. But at least now he can drive it. Once he gets another set of gears, whatever, we'll